Hey, what's up, guys? It's Ian over at Strait Games. So everybody created in the poll. They voted. They wanted Enemy Action Ardennes. This game is put out by Compass Games. Battle of the Bulge. It's going to be 1944, December 16th, all the way to the 29th, depending if you play the full scenario. This game is designed by John Butterfield, who made Ambush. Lots of victory games. So it's a really good game. Let me go ahead and talk about it. Let's take a look at the board. Alright guys, so here we are. I have gone ahead and set up the German solo map. So there's, like I've said it before, there's 3 games in one. So you have the 2-player game, where the map, really, the only thing that's different is on this one, you're going to see a lot more going on inside the map, minus like your terrain. So you're going to have these numbers here. These are basically hold values for the ally, because the allied are going to be played by 2 decks of cards, so it's complete AI. They're going to move and attack based off the cards. You're also going to have what's called the primary forward arrow, and that's going to be these bigger arrows right here. So these thicker black arrows are going to be the primary forward arrow. You're going to have the the secondary forward arrow. That's going to be your little skinny ones. These blue ones here are going to be your withdraw arrows. And then basically these are also, these circles are going to be allied positions. The number inside is the hold value for those positions. Those are not going to be on the 2-player map. The allied solo player map is going to look very similar to this, because the numbers and the arrows is basically, it's a mapping. Just think of it as a map to how the allied are going to move and play, because it's not necessarily going to be me that makes their decisions like in any other game I play solo. It's strictly done by cards. The cards dictate their movement, they dictate all their actions, and then I'm going to have to act and react based off what those cards do. So it's a pretty intricate system. I expect nothing less from John Butterfield. He makes phenomenal games. Hell's Highway, which is so good, by Victory Games. Extremely complex for its time, but it's really it's a solid game. Ambush is the same thing as well. With that you have a paragraph booklet, and the thing with this over Ambush is that after time, if you play the same scenarios repeatedly with Ambush, you will eventually start to know what to expect, and that surprise is gone. You're not going to be surprised anymore because you've already played it out. Some other things to note on this is that you do have cities, okay, and then you're going to have, you'll see the city hex, and it's red bordered, and it basically says 5 victory points. So this game is all about victory points. The Germans have to earn victory points in order to win the game. They, at certain parts in the game, if they're under so many victory points, again, they lose the game. So there's different levels of winning. I mean, you have operational wins, you have complete devastated wins, losses, excuse me. You can win or lose in multiple ways, just depending on how many victory points. Well, you're going to get victory points for, holding portions of the map, but the real victory points come from exiting the map. Now, you're going to see these roads that lead off, and you're going to have them down here. The thing is that once you've exited the map on this half, it locks the rest of it, and you have to cross the Meuse River. So once you're able to once you've crossed the Meuse River, from there, then it reopens, and you're going to see there's some boundary lines here, and basically what those are is what corps can go. So like the German 7th Army, they're going to have to stay within this range. So there's a range, and it's basically, it's their border. They have to move along there. and stay in this area. And then, of course, there's multiple all the way across for all the divisions. Now, this map is pretty nice in the aspect that it does it tells you. So you've got like the German 7th Army line, and you've got the German 5th Panzer Army. Let me get a different angle here for you guys so you can kind of see what I'm seeing. Okay, excuse the glare, guys. You have the 6th Panzer Army, and so all of these things here, and as you can see, there's lines all the way out. Okay, and basically that's going to dictate where those units may move. They need to stay within their border. At that same time, though, you can never activate the same division twice in a row. So if I activate the German 7th Army, my next card is going to have to be one of the other two divisions. I can't do it the same. I can't use two of the same and just keep moving them forward. I have to alternate between them. Now, this game is card-driven in the aspect that I have to play a card out of my hand. So, I'm going to have a draw pile of cards. And as you'll see, this one would be the German 6th Panzer Army. So 1 SS Panzer Corps, 12th VG Division, 3rd FJ Division, and then, it's got some coding. And I'm not going to go too far into that right now. I'm just kind of doing a brief, and I'll explain everything once I finally do the playthrough, which it's getting kind of late, so I probably won't start that tonight. I just wanted to kind of get everything up, kind of show everybody what we have on the board so we can go over it and kind of give you a sneak peek of this game. So we have the combat units. So it basically, these are going to match the icons that are on the units themselves. Which, once you play enough of these games, the Hex Encounter War games, the symbols are always the same to me. The first time I jumped into one, it was a little confusing. I was frustrated because I was like, man, what does the X mean? Can't they just put a damn infantry unit on it? Why the hell isn't there a tank? So on and so forth. John did put tanks on these ones, so you're going to see mechanized infantry, armor, cavalry, and combined arms. And it even shows their symbols. And then you have your airborne infantry. Now, when you come over here to the movement chart, the terrain key, so it's got the color. So, the clear, the broken, the woods. It's basically a white, a beige, a green, and then your forest, road, town, city, the west wall, and then their movement. So movement's broken down to non-mechanized units on the left, mechanized units on the right. So, in a clear, it's just one movement point to move through that hex. But if it's a broken hex, that beige color that we're talking about, it's 2 if you're a tank. Woods is going to be just a green. It's going to cost you 3 if you're, mechanized. And then forest is going to cost you 4. So forest is really the only one that ups your movement cost if you are infantry. Basically non-mechanized. And then roads are going to be 1-to-1 all across the board. With towns, you're going to use basically other terrain in the hex. Cities are 1-to-1, and then west wall, whatever the hex is underneath the west wall. You also are going to have, like rivers and bridges, river unbridged, Army Corps boundary line, which we went over, some victory point hexes, fuel dumps, and blown bridge. My one thing that I wanted to talk about is that I'm not quite sure how I feel about the blown bridge markers. I get it, we go right here. This one's probably easier to show you. So there's a bridge here, and you can see it here. The thing is, what I don't understand is why they didn't just use a marker that says blown bridge and I just set it underneath. Instead, they want one that basically points to that hex stating that, hey, that bridge is blown. Now, blown bridges are kind of a pain in the ass in this game, because in order to move across the blown bridge, if you have to start next to it, and then you expend all your movement points to go through it. So it's not like other games. I mean, it's different. It's a much more it's just a different style to me than what I was used to when I first picked up this game. Now, I've played the two-player game a few times, two-player version, and other than all of these icons, so far the rules seem fairly similar. There's a few differences. The fuel dumps are in the other one, but right now I'm going to play a scenario that is 4 turns, and they don't come into play until the 20th, and mine goes to the 19th or 18th or 19th. So we won't be using the fuel dumps. But there are cards for the Germans that would draw up, and they're going to say out of gas. No gas, which means if you have no fuel, you're not moving, especially in a mechanized unit. So on this board, the map does change. You guys will notice that I use a picture frame. My apartment is not small, but it's definitely not. I don't have storage spot for plexiglass, so I use picture frames basically for maps. So we have the Allied command cards, the Allied action cards. You're going to see the OKW reserves and the von der Heit reserves. Any eliminated units during the game will go here. Exited units will go here. That's how I'll earn points. My reserve units. So basically, this is one of those games that some of the units out here have more strength points. They have 4. They can take 4 step. They have 4 steps in a step loss rather than 2. So they'll have units. So once one takes 2 hits, you just pull it off and put the weaker unit on its front side. And then if it takes another hit, you flip it. So German victory points, so we can track it. You'll see that there's 2 here. One of those is basically for 1 point, and then once I hit 10, I can move that one. So I can easily hit 11, and so on and so forth. There's some specialty rules that they've put out here. Every 2 Allied units eliminated equals some points. West Wall being held by the Allied. There's different things in the days. The calendar has my reinforcements on it. And as you will also see, let me see if I can get a little closer in. So it even has some stuff like on the 20th, the fixed artillery range from the West Wall is 4, and that's up in the upper right corner. The German supply cards is 8 Allied command cards, level 3, add 2 cards to the action deck. And German movement restrictions, and start German fuel checks, replacements. And then basically, if I'm lower than 11 victory points as a German player, it's a strategic loss. But if I have more than 40, it's a strategic win. Now that's hard. It doesn't mean it's not possible. It's just going to be difficult. So we'll see how that goes. So as you can see on the map here, the West Wall is basically going to wrap all the way around. It's going to come, it swoops down, and then it comes out. Okay. Lots of forest. And then, over here, basically I've got the German cards. They're set up with your decks. They explains how to do all of that. I keep this on hand. This is basically another terrain charts and effects. It's going to have all my stacking limits, strategic movement, units with bracketed combat strength, dispersed units. Over here, so this one is the German Benson tactics. Basically, for your reactions, your specials, and commands and combat tactics. So when you have cards in your hand, rather than use them for movement or combat during the game, you may use them as an extra. You can use the bottom for combat tactics. So it'll tell you kind of what each one does, so they all have explanations, and this will basically just give you a rundown of how to use it. On the back, it'll also have one for Allied, because the Allied tactics are different than the Germans. This one in the inside is going to basically give you the crib sheet and everything for combat procedures, how to do combat, basically what you need to do, different stuffs, undetected Allied defender, hold checks, assigning hits, to advance after combat. There's a lot of information. This game is a very rule-heavy game. The two-player, I didn't have too many issues, but there was also another person playing with me where I was able to kind of bounce back and forth some stuff and work out some of the kinks that with solo games, usually sometimes I get held up a little bit more just because I'm trying to make sure that I'm not screwing up too bad, because I'm always going to miss some rules. I mean, it's just how it goes. I've never been able to just play a game flawless on the first time. That would be wonderful, but that's just not feasible for me. It never happens. So this one here is, again, this is like Allied Intelligence. It's going to have a bunch of charts and rules inside to help you out, so that way you don't have to dig through the book, which I thought is really handy. So it's going to have some just key rule summaries on the back, so that way if I have any questions, usually I can jump onto one of these, answer those questions right away, and get back to my game. The game does use combat chits instead of dice for combat. So as you'll see, there's different stuff on here. So like this one is if the defender is elite, and this one takes basically, let me see if I can get, sorry guys for the glare tonight. So this defender elite takes priority. And what that means, the P means priority. There are two sides to each chit. And this one, the defender, -1. Okay? But this one is defender's a green unit. Defender takes 1 hit. So in this game, even if you're attacking or defending, if you initiate the combat, depending on how it's initiated, you draw so many chits. And it all depends on different circumstances. If you're an elite unit, if you're not an elite unit, what type of extra combat chit is drawn because of the location in which you're fighting. You may choose to draw more than, you have a minimum to draw, and you may choose more if you would like, based off your attack strength. And I'll get into all of that. I don't want to go too far. But what happens with that is that I played a 2-player game as a defender. I was playing the Allied, trying to keep the German player on the map. And within, I don't know, maybe an hour, they had wiped out a bunch of my units, but only wiped out one more unit of mine than of their own, and I never once attacked. And I was able to accomplish that simply by holding defense, and some of these chits get drawn, and they can be disastrous for the attacker. Now, as you see, like I said before, so this one says defender green, takes 1 hit. Well, that would be great, and the problem with it is that because they know you're going to want to pick that if you're the defender, P means priority. So if the one with the P does not apply to the situation in combat, then you would ignore it and flip. If this one didn't apply, then we would just push it aside. And basically what defender green means is any unit that's not an elite would be a green unit. Only defender armor. So if the defending unit only had armor, the attacker would take 1 damage. And on this one, only attacker armor. So if the attacking stack of units is only armor, then the defender would take a hit. Again, if none of the one of them would apply, you just set them aside until you've drawn the number of chits, and you go through them, and you basically keep any ones that apply, and you take the hits for both sides, retreat if you need to. There are a way to dodge hits in this game by retreating. They're very strict, and there's a lot of, if this happens, you may do this, but only in this case type of rules, which I believe is kind of what makes this game so complicated. Because if you cut out all of the what if this happens, this will happen type of rules, it's not that complex. But because of that element alone, it goes from what I would like to say a medium style complexity game to a medium high, if not high. The two-player game necessarily wasn't that hard, but I can definitely see that these the solo games are going to be much harder because there's a lot of little rules that just have a steep learning curve, in my opinion, that are going to take me a little while to grasp those concepts. I'm really glad that you guys checked in. Sorry if my camera skills tonight were lacking a little bit. Just wanted to get this out on the table, show you guys kind of what's going on. And then, like I said, we'll be back later this week, and I will start playing it. This one's going to take a little while. We'll go through, I'll show you guys how the cards work. I may even keep the camera on, so that way you can kind of see a few activations. And we'll go from there. Thanks for watching.